Let's begin with our second lecture on expected questions for international relations. So the first is the Persian Gulf region. As you can see in the map here, this is the area of Persian Gulf which is important politically and economically. Now what are the 8 countries which are located here? So Bahrain, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, then you have Oman, Saudi Arabia are some of the major nations which are part of this Persian Gulf, and all the countries are member of United Nations as well. So the 8 countries which are part of it are important. Now within this we have 2 cooperations, the Gulf Cooperation Council where United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar and Kuwait are the members, and then we have the members of OPEC where Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, UAE and Saudi Arabia from the Persian Gulf region are the members of it. The idea is they are the major producers of oil and natural gas, and the background is this region was guarded as a British lake for 8 decades before 1970. The regions which have played an important role have been because of the various events, for example the Muscat Conference, the Iranian Revolution, the Iraq-Iran war and the political tensions that rose in the region of Persian Gulf. We have seen increasing interest of United States in the regions of Persian Gulf, and there have been a constant issue of bringing in political stability in terms of the rising conflicts between Iraq and Iran, then United Nations Security Council resolutions that need to be adopted. And in the current situation there has been a decline in the oil prices, decline in the demand of the oil, alternate sources like renewable sources of energy coming up. So the stability and the regional security, the geopolitics has been significantly changing. Now the next is the Senkaku Islands. Now Senkaku Islands is important. As you can see in the map here, China, North Korea, South Korea and Japan. We have the exclusive economic border zone by the region of Japan and the region of China. There is a small transition area where there is a conflict in this exclusive economic zone, and this is where you have the Senkaku Islands. Now Senkaku Islands are the disputed islands known by different names. So China calls it Diaoyu and Taiwan calls it Taiyakuit. Now both of those are the region which is present in the disputed region of China, Japan and Taiwan. So all of these three have the issues regarding the exclusive economic rights in the waters. Now why this region has been important? There has been a constant demand to increase the development in these areas. The wholehearted idea here is mainly understanding how the developments have been and how these could actually be strategically important. This is just a small area of only 7 square kilometers northeast of Taiwan, but still we have seen that this is one of the major regions as fishing grounds, as shipping lanes, and it is predominantly an uninhabited region. There is no population actively residing in this island area, but still strategically, economically, this is very significant. So Senkaku Island in Japan, Diaoyu Islands in China and Taiyaku Islands in Taiwan, again part of this territorial dispute as we have seen in the map here. So 3 of these islands lying in this region are part of the conflict area. The next is India's help to foreign nations among COVID. So it was in part of Mission Sagar. Mission Sagar 1, which was in the name of Mission Sagar, then Mission Sagar 2 and 3. So the first Mission Sagar initiative was a medical assistance team that moved through the Navy from the southern Indian Oceans, and this was to the countries of Maldives, Mauritius, Madagascar, Comoros and Seychelles, and this was through the Sagar initiative, which is security and growth of all in the region. It was launched initially in 2015 as a strategic vision for the Indian Ocean region, and later on we focused on a collaborative approach for the same. Other important maritime policies that India has been following is Project Sagarmala, Project Mausam, Act East policy and Blue Economy. Now the second mission was the Mission Sagar 2. The first mission that we took was as a part of INS Kesari. The ship involved was INS Kesari. The fleet was INS Indian Naval ship Kesari. However, the second mission, Indian Sagar 2, was with INS Arivat. Now, INS Arivat went to deliver food to the regions of South Sudan, Djibouti, and Eritrea in Africa. So, this was the focus of the Mission Sagar 2. Again, we had other important related activities that were seen, and finally, Mission Sagar 3, through which INS Kiltan mainly took the force to Cambodia. So it took to the Sihanouk Valley port in Cambodia, and nearly 15 tons of humanitarian assistance was given to the flood victims in Cambodia. So that was another approach of partnership that we have seen. Now INS Kiltan, which is part of the Mission Sagar 3, is an anti-submarine warfare corvette which has been part of the East Naval Wing of India and is being based in Vishakhapatnam. Also along with Kiltan, we have INS Sahadri, which is one of the indigenously designed multi-role ship developed by Indian Navy. So both of these ships, INS Kiltan and INS Sahadri, have been developed indigenously by India, and these both are multi-role ships. The next is, if you can see the region of Chabar port, with India we have the region of Iran and Afghanistan. Now any trade that we need to complete needs to go through the port. In Pakistan, Gadar port has been built with the help of China. In order to combat that, India is trying to develop relations with Iran and have a pathway through the Chabar port. Now between Chabar and Zahedan, a signaling equipment system has been composed, and later on from Zahedan we can further communicate to the regions of Afghanistan and Kabul. So Chabar port has been important. India has been asked by Iran to activate 150 million credit line offered by India when Iranian president visited India in 2018. This is an agreement between India, Iran and Afghanistan, and is a movement path towards Afghanistan from India, and therefore establishment of transit and transport corridor among these nations become important. Now if we focus on how this development took place, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which is IRGC, launched the Iran's first military satellite, which is Noor, in April 2020 and has been therefore important. The military infrastructure is in line with the Iran's armed forces. Now Chabar port is important, as we already mentioned, the Gadar port, which was built with the help of China in Pakistan, and this Chabar port would be a big way through for India. Now this Chabar port consists of two ports, Shahid Behishti and Shahid Kalantari, and for India it is a golden opportunity to reach to the regions of Central Asian countries, and if Pakistan denies transit for India, India can reach through the path from Iran, and therefore has been important. Again, the gas fields, the Farzad B gas fields, which is one of the major gas fields in the Persian region in Iran. The contract for those has been given to ONGC, ONGC Videsh, IOC and Oil India, and this contract basically expired in 2009 after the declaration of the commercialization, which was done by the organizations there. Now in 2020, Iran said that it would be developing its own field and India's involvement would be welcomed at any later stage. A new Chinese village has come up in the region of Bhutan, very close to the Indian territory, and there have been images of the Pangda village, which is the newly built village as per the authorities in the Yadong County in the southwest China Tibet Autonomous Region. So nearly 27 households with only 124 people have voluntarily moved from the Shangdoi village to the Pangda village in September 2020. Now this is the first time Chinese residential area has been noticed near the Doklam region, and Bhutan, however, officially denies the presence of any Chinese village in the region. For India, this is an attempt for China to push towards a tri-junction region, and therefore has been again strategically important. There have been cases of developments and disputes in South China Sea and the Tarishan district in Bhutan before, and Pangda, which is on the tri-junction of the Doklam Plateau, India, China and Bhutan. This site has seen building up of roads over the past years. With India, definitely Bhutan has a peace and a friendship relation. There was a treaty which was signed in 1949 and later renegotiated in 2007, and this made encouragement for Bhutan's sovereignty from the side of India. We have various associations as when we talk about the SAARC nations, when we talk about the BIMSTEC nations. So India is part of the various regional groups where Bhutan is also one of the members. India has signed up various hydropower projects with Bhutan, and the surplus energy imports have been done. There have been a constant focus on investments in Bhutan, and a launch of the first 5-year plan of Bhutan was done with the help of India's financial help. Also, recently China has come up with a new dam on Brahmaputra, and this is on the Yarlung Tsangpo river. We have covered a class on super dam in Tibet, and that is what we are talking again. So again, a very important topic. Just go back and refer that class for more detail. Power China is the company which is signing this agreement with the Tibet Autonomous Region for the hydroelectric power exploitation, and this is believed to be much higher than the Three Gorges Dam in China. So definitely has a strategic impact on the water flow in the downstream regions in India, predominantly starting from Arunachal Pradesh and finally into the regions of Bengal and India. Now we have been seeing that India's the concerns have been growing, and Brahmaputra is the river where this super dam would be built in the Tibet province. Now the next is the Kolchangchu hydroelectric power project. Now this is another important joint venture that has been seen. The partners are the Satluj Jal Vidyut Nigam and the Dhruv Green Power Corporation from India and Bhutan side, and this is a joint venture of India and Bhutan. So Kolchangchu is the hydroelectric power project, again very important. This is to be built in the Trashi Yangtze district of eastern Bhutan. Now we have seen that there have been strategic importance for building up the various projects, but India previously also have numerous hydroelectric power projects, as we already said with Bhutan. Some of the important ones to note are the Chuka, Kirchu and Tala. Then we have the Magdechu and the Putangshu 1 and Putangshu 2. So those are some of the important ones. The next is the post-Brexit deal. Now post-Brexit deal has been published, and UK has basically moved out of the European Union, and that's what it is all about. So it has the details on trade, law enforcement and dispute settlement which is related to it. The European fleet has got access to the to fish in UK waters up to 6 miles for a 5-year transitionary period, and there has been various rights and issues that have been signed between European Union and UK, and that is what is basically around the post-Brexit deal. Now as a part of post-Brexit deal, we also need to know about the APEC and the Federation of Indian Export Organizations and how those would be impacted. The next is One Nation, One Sun, One World, One Grid. The idea is to develop interconnected renewable energy resources on a global level, and this has been laid with the foundation of the vision that sun never sets and is constantly there at some geographical location globally. With the idea of that, we can harness the renewable energy source, and International Solar Alliance is a big way where India as one of the members can have a leading role. So there have been 3 phases of this plan. The first phase talks about the interconnection between Middle East, South Asia and the Southeast Asian countries. The second phase talks about integrating it with the African nations, and the third phase focuses on a global interconnection that can be developed. The next is the United Nations Security Council rejects all Pakistan requests to list 4 of the Indians as designated terrorists. Now, these 4 are the terrorists which have been declared by Pakistan. However, since Pakistan is already on the grey list of FATF, this move has not been welcomed by the 3 permanent members, US, UK and France, along with the 2 non-permanent members, Germany and Belgium. However, there have been constant ideas that these 4 people have been involved with Indian Terror Syndicate, which is organization behind the banned terror groups Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and Jamaat-ul-Azhar for carrying attacks in Pakistan. So those are again important developments. Then UK Internal Market Bill 2020 has been important, and this is over the talks on the European Union and how international controversies was brought about with international treaties. This bill is with an idea to protect the job and trade within UK after the end of 2020 transition period for leaving the European Union, that is post-Brexit. So post-Brexit, how UK would protect its job and trade. The transition period would be finalized until 2020 December and from 2020 December until the withdrawal treaty, and therefore how the things and the scenarios need to take into account have been important. So in that light, understanding Irish backdrop is again important. Project Sanjeevani is a mission by India where India provided supplies of more than 6.2 tons to the region of Maldives as an assistance, and India was one of the first country to recognize Maldives as independent in 1965 and later on the mission of Malé in 1972. India has one of the largest training opportunities with Maldives, therefore has a very good relations with Maldives. 70% of their defense training equipments and requirements are met by India. Jointly, India and Maldives run a military exercise in the name of Ekurivin. Also, India is one of the 5th largest tourists who move to Maldives as for tourism. So definitely an important partner of Maldives. And in terms of trade partners, China, Singapore, India and UAE are the major partners with Maldives. So that is the relation with Maldives and India. The last is the Rohingyas. Now recently, Rohingyas is one of the most ethnically suppressed community which we have seen, the most persecuted community worldwide. Now they reside in the Rakhine state of Myanmar. We have covered a separate lecture on Rohingyas, very important. Recently around 150 Rohingyas have been moved to the Bhasan Char island in the region of Bay of Bengal. Now Bhasan Char island is also known as floating island. It is an island in Hatia in Bangladesh. It is also known as Char Pia or Thingarchar Island. Now this is important that this island was never inhabited and has been discovered only 20 years ago. It is believed from June to September this island is totally flooded and it is underwater during the monsoon areas. With such uninhabitable conditions, nearly 150 Rohingyas have been sent to this island. Myanmar actually has a huge history about denial of the citizenship of Rohingyas since 1982, and a lot of Rohingyas have been moving to Bangladesh under the Ashrayan project started by the Bangladesh government, where they were resettling Rohingyas, and under that they have been resettled at the Bhasar Char island. Amnesty International has been constantly raising the issues of the health conditions, the allegations, the unhygienic living conditions and the limited facilities, healthcare facilities and food facilities that is being available to the Rohingyas in the Bhasar Char island. Also, there has been a constant involvement of United Nations and International Convent on civil and political rights. Though Rohingyas are the refugees in the country of asylum, they can enjoy the same fundamental rights or the freedom as nationals by the virtue of Article 2 under the International Convent for Cultural, the Civil and Political Rights, and that is where The important idea focuses on how they can be actually managed. So those were some of the important highlights that we have covered in this lecture. We would be covering another lecture where we would be focusing more on international developments and international relations. So stay tuned for many more expected question series and expected topic series from our side for 2021. We would be there with you till your prelims. Stay tuned. Have a wonderful day ahead.